Maybe wait just wait for a minute. I think people are joining. Just we'll wait for 1 minute before we start. Okay.
The decisions which we make now for our people, for our organization, will impact the life of generations to come. And it's very important and opportune time in which we all are meeting today to understand how to go about taking these decisions, both at the organizational level, the personal level, and also at the level of nation's policies and programs, and the way we go about building a new world around us.
Dr. Neeti, I think you can start now. Okay. Professor Kotler, we are starting.
I'm ready.
Okay, sir. A very good evening to one and all present here. Transforming the education landscape over the past 30 years, the Amity Education Group has established top-ranked universities and schools across the world which are at the forefront of cutting-edge innovation and teaching methodologies. Today, Amity has 11 universities in India, 13 foreign campuses, and 17 schools. At Amity, students, faculty, and scientists across the world have one passion in common, which is to achieve academic excellence. And this is the DNA of Amity. Amity University is ranked among the top 3% of universities globally by the QS and the Times Higher Education rankings, and has set a new standard of academic excellence by becoming Asia's only university to achieve the US Regional Accreditation and UK's Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education. The vision here at Amity University Gurugram is to be a world-class center of creativity and innovation, and to contribute to the progress of humanity through excellence in education, industry, and socially relevant research and extension services. We believe in fostering academic innovations to create a student-centric environment of learning, nurture talent and creativity, and promote interdisciplinary education and research. The core values at Amity University Gurugram include continuous learning and knowledge creation, professional morality, scientific ethics and academic freedom, quality consciousness and environmental sustainability, and national pride and global outlook. I, Dr. Neeti Chatterjee, on behalf of the Amity Center for Innovation in Education, Amity University, Haryana, feel extremely proud to welcome you all to this distinguished session tonight. Please join me in welcoming none other than the father of modern marketing himself, Professor Philip Kotler. Professor Philip Kotler is the S.C. Johnson and Son Distinguished Professor of International Marketing at the Kellogg School of Management at the Northwestern University. He received his master's degree at the University of Chicago and his PhD at MIT. He pursued his postdoctoral work in mathematics at the Harvard University and in behavioral science at the University of Chicago. In the field of marketing, he has distinguished himself on many levels. He's an innovative thought leader, a revered educator, an accomplished author of over 80 books, well-traveled speaker, social activist, and he has consulted the world's most recognized corporate brands like IBM, General Electric, AT&T, Honeywell, and Bank of America. His work covers a wide spectrum of areas like marketing management, strategic marketing, planning and policy, economics, international business, international marketing, new product development, and innovation and creativity. He has been called the father of modern marketing, the marketing guru, and the influential marketer of all time. In 2013, Professor Kotler was inducted into the Management Hall of Fame along with 10 other management gurus. In 2020, he was voted at number 3 amongst the top 30 gurus of management. Professor Kotler has secured a standing as one of the top business thinkers of the century. Professor Kotler has also helped create the field of social marketing that focuses on helping individuals and groups modify their behavior towards a healthier and a safer lifestyle. He has also created the concept of demarketing to aid in the task of reducing the level of demand, and has also developed concepts like prosumers, atmospherics, and societal marketing. Sir, we are immensely privileged to have you among us today, and we look forward to an enlightening session with you on the topic, which is Company Decisions and Marketing 5.0. Now I request our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor and Dean Academics, Amity University, Haryana, Professor Dr. Padmakali Banerjee, for her welcome address. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Neeti. A very warm welcome and namaskar and greetings to the business thinker of the century, none other than Professor Philip Kotler. I'm telling you, we are very thrilled today at Amity University, Haryana, and across all Amity campuses. I'm so proud to announce this so important talk by Professor none other than but Professor Philip Kotler. On behalf of our most distinguished founder president, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, who is a visionary, and in presence of our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Asim Chauhan, our Vice Chancellor, Deans and Directors, we extend a very warm welcome to you and we are eagerly waiting for your session. I must also put on record that we have Vice Chancellors across all Amity campuses who have joined us tonight here in India, and it's a morning time for you there at Florida. And people from all across the corporate sector, people from the industry, a lot of our research scholars and students are also participating. So we really look forward for a very interesting session ahead tonight. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Neeti.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. P.B. Sharma, for his greetings and welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Chancellor, sir, what a great privilege for Amity University, Haryana, to have the world's leading light in the area of marketing management and also scientific decision making today with us at Amity University, Haryana, in a highly impactful webinar. And we wish to extend a very warm welcome to Professor Kotler for the most precious time Professor Kotler has so kindly agreed to spend with us this evening. The august presence of our own Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Asim Chauhan ji, is a matter of great privilege and honor for Amity University. Professor Kotler, Honorable Chancellor himself, along with the Vice Chancellors of all Amity universities in India, my heads of the institutions and deans of various faculties, and a great number of scholars are here to listen to you, to understand how do we go about creating a world around us in which we want to live with dignity, honor, with happiness, with prosperity, and of course, ensuring that the sustainability of the highest order is still created despite the fact that we go leaps and bounds, improving and escalating our turnovers, our GDPs, and becoming more and more rich. I want to see a world where economic diversity is reduced to a great extent compared to what it is today. And I also want to see a world which is far more sustainable, the environment far more cleaner and acceptable for a happy and healthy living on planet Mother Earth. Marketing would play a very important role in conditioning the behavior of the people, the way they go around consuming. I'm for a day when sustainable consumption becomes the buzzword. Does not mean we would undermine the strength of marketing. We would still be marketing, but marketing for a bright, green, and sustainable future. I look towards you for your guidance, how to go about taking decisions of the kind that are so important today at all levels of the organization, and marketing our capabilities and our strength for creating this beautiful world around. Honorable Founder President of Amity University, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, would be most delighted to have you here this evening with us today. He is driving the agenda of ensuring that Amity is not only able to market itself within the country and abroad, but is able to create that vital difference in creating a world in which we truly wish to live and live with dignity, honor, and with high levels of sustainability. With these words, on my personal behalf and on behalf of the entire Amity University Haryana fraternity, I extend to you a very warm welcome and look forward to your words of wisdom as guidance for people like us to take informed, intelligent, smart, optimal decisions which will create the world around us, which we also desire and dream. Thank you so much indeed for your highly precious time for our university. A very warm welcome to you, Professor Kotler. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Before I invite Professor Kotler for his talk, let's take a look at this small video. Thank you. With immense honor, I would now request Professor Philip Kotler to kindly illuminate the gathering as we all are eagerly waiting to listen to him. I would request the participants to post their questions in the chat box so that they can be taken up after the talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Greetings to, first of all the students who might be watching us, to all the faculty members at the Amity University across the country and the world, and also to business people as well. There's so much to say about marketing and to change some of the opinions people have about marketing. There's so much confusion between selling and marketing as well. And we're entering a world now where so much is at stake, including the future of the planet. So marketing itself has to be reinvented. I wish I could give a whole talk on where we might go, but I will say that a big part of it will be what we call demarketing, using the same tools of marketing to get people to eliminate waste and to make sure that our precious resources, those that are going to expire, do not expire, that we switch to renewable resources. And I'll say a little more about that later. Let me turn to the formal presentation, but I do have to see my slides right now, if you can turn them on. Professor Banerjee, we had a picture of my slides.
Yes, can you click the share screen button on the green button?
Oh, yes, good.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the reminder.
Yeah.
And now we'll go here. Okay, very good. And now I'm going to make them larger. Okay, good. And let me move on. I'm going to start with the idea that companies are going to make a very big difference in the world, and they are facing many problems. I list some of them here. So just imagine that you're the CEO of a company. Here's what's on your mind. How long will COVID-19 last, and what changes has it produced, and what do we do about it as a company? The government is doing what it can do, but what do we do? What policies should we adopt regarding masks, vaccinations, working at home? Should we go into lockdowns, or should we only admit people to gatherings if they show that they've been vaccinated? Those questions. How serious is climate change? I mean, COVID is one thing, but the other big C is climate change. And should our company invest in sustainability? Should our company pay more attention to social problems and take a stand occasionally on a particular problem? And what about inflation? What should we do? Raise our prices right now, or should we? Well, that could be disastrous if every company is going to raise prices, and so wages will have to be there'd be a wage price spiral. We want to avoid that. How digital is our company? Is it digital enough? Because we are moving so quickly into a new world of digitalization. And what about the market? What's it going to look like post-COVID? And what can we learn from marketing 4.0 and 5.0 and so on? So a lot of questions. COVID itself has been a very big problem, and it's hurt certain industries that are based on gatherings, movie houses, gyms, hotels, restaurants. And it has also kept many people staying at home and learning a new life. I mean, becoming home-centered and still working for your company deposits new attitudes about, well, maybe I should learn a little more about cooking since I'm working at home. And I don't have to wear formal clothes because I'm not out in public anymore or in the office. And so many things are happening to change our lives. And think about should we let employees work at home to some extent, and which employees, and will it help our business or hurt our business? Those things come up, and we have to make decisions. And the big problem we're going to face as soon as COVID is managed better is climate change. And we know about the disasters around the world. And we know that the equatorial countries are specifically going to get so hot that the people in those countries, and that's millions and millions of people, are going to want to flee to cooler climates. And how do we handle that? That's the whole migration problem. And what can each of us do, and each of our companies do, to reduce our carbon footprints? And moving to electric cars, and turning off the lights when they're not being used, and using better light sources rather than the old bulbs, and so on and so forth. So how do we get more people involved in sustainability? Can we make profits and still invest in sustainability? That's a good question. I mentioned Walmart because one of the things they did was dramatic. They told this huge company called Walmart, said to every supplier, we're not going to keep you as a supplier unless you buy new trucks, because your old trucks are polluting the environment. They're inefficient from a fuel. We want actually electric trucks so that we don't damage pollution and so on. So each company has to maybe re-examine who is their supplier and their distributor, and are they engaged also in keeping carbon down, decarbonizing, and so on. Okay, so there are a lot of problems in the world, and some companies are taking some steps to help out. Let me show you a chart here. I did a study some years ago of corporate social responsibility, and we investigated 45 companies to see if they've connected with some cause and made a difference in the cause. And here's a list. It's very interesting. And I want that list to be seen by you, because it looks like a company can benefit itself by doing more with some problem that is important, that affects a lot of people. So here's a number of companies that have really tried to make a difference. One of them, not listed, is Coca-Cola. They spend a lot of money on water conservation, because without water, there's no Coke. So many of these social issues are very much related to the company's existence too. So here's the problem. We are facing an inflation around the world, and a company has two choices. Either to accept a lower, not raise its price, absorb higher costs and accept a lower profit, or raise the prices to customers. Much of this depends, as an economist, I would say, on the elasticity of demand and so on. Raising prices, for example, would all of our customers stay with us, or will we lose half of our customers? So it's not an easy decision when you're facing, as a company, the problem of inflation. And if most companies are going to expect inflation, they're going to raise their prices in advance, which itself causes more inflation. And much depends on what the government's going to do and the central bank in trying to manage inflation. I myself believe it's a temporary thing. This high inflation is the result of supply chain problems to a large extent, with a lot of ships waiting to unload their goods and other things. But we shall see. Now, how digital is your company? Is it digital enough? The finance people have been pretty good at moving to digitalization. They call it fintech. And there's a lot of new fintech examples. The marketing people have been slower in moving to martech. MarTech is the name we would give to new digital procedures used by marketing people. So your company has to really move quickly and identify attractive, talented individuals who grew up with digitalization and add them to your marketing department, because otherwise, if you're only a department of non-digital marketers, it won't work in a digital age. And are you really studying the buying process? And do you have a lot of data on what media people, your customers, are paying attention to? How well do you know your individual customers? And we know that in the US, that's become a very big thing. And Facebook has been part of it. There's just a lot of information available. And that information would help you knowing timing. When is a particular customer ready to be interested in something you can offer to them? And how do you price it and make the benefit package attractive enough to get the customer to conclude that it would be to the customer's advantage to buy? In fact, has your company been tracking how customers ever arrive at your company to begin with? This is a problem, for example, if I ran an automobile dealership and someone comes in to look at our car and wants a test drive and so on, I should have asked, how did you get here? What did you just pass our window and you said, oh, maybe a car would be a good thing and come in? That would be a very short journey. Or did you sweat over the problem of needing a new car? You studied several different brands. You looked at all the ads. What was your journey as a customer to get to us? Because if I can find the pattern of different journeys used by my buyers, people buying from me, I can really set up better stopping points when they are going to buy. So the real question is also, as a company, that I have to make decisions about is, what will the post-COVID period look like? And 4 possibilities, of course. One is that when we finally get everyone vaccinated and we can gather together safely, maybe all that will happen is everything will return to what it was before COVID. In other words, a real normal, people just going around and shopping a lot and doing whatever it was like, with modest economic growth. That's what some companies will bet on that being the future after COVID. Another might be, no, there will be a new normal and many new things, and more people will be working out of their home, and there will be much pent-up demand because they couldn't get certain goods that were in short supply, but maybe real high economic growth, a new normal with high economic growth. Now, that's a different one to bet on as a company. Actually, maybe the economy in which we operate will start really worrying about social injustice, the growing gap between the rich and the poor, and it's not right. And then the more you look at other forms of capitalism, particularly the Nordic capitalism, where all the citizens in Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, they're always at the top in health, and they're always in the top in happiness. There's something about capitalism when it's the Nordic capitalism that works. Maybe India has to think more about it. Now, it means higher taxes, collecting more money to create more education and better health. And that's capitalism too, if we can do that. But also, will marketing continue to be pushing demand? Is this the time to keep pushing demand? There's a phrase often called making a better world through marketing, using marketing to make a better world. Well, maybe we have to discipline consumption. maybe we've been overdoing it. We've been making gadgets and little things that people buy and they throw away. Look at the clothing industry, for example. At least in the West, fashion keeps changing. They deliberately want you to be tired of what you just bought. And so that means, and even when they make fashion goods, just look at the floor where they cut the goods. On the floor are half the wasted textiles. In other words, they're cutting up a garment and they have to throw away a lot of there's waste in the fashion industry. Well, that may be true of a lot of industries. Can we discipline consumption and production a little better so that we don't over-carbonize the world? Well, let's move on. What can we learn from Marketing 5.0? So as background, let me explain why we even have these separate printed books, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, it all came about with one book called Marketing 3.0. There was never a book called Marketing 1.0 or 2.0. Now, marketing, excuse me. Sorry. Marketing 3.0 said there's really 3 types of marketing. In fact, let me show you this. Well, it doesn't show up yet. The basic idea is most companies that made something and sold something just did it because there was a lot of demand and they were just performing the function from a logical position. But Marketing 2.0 started to say, do you know, maybe about 70% of all buying is emotional. And we have been neglecting emotions. We've been just thinking that people go and rationally buy something. I mean, it's sort of the economist concept that all economic behavior is rational. That's not true. A lot of it is emotional. And not only the behavior of buyers, also of producers. Just look at a CEO and you'll see that he's making a decision to take a little risk. He doesn't want risk. He has emotions involved about is he making the right decision? Emotions have to be recognized, and that's what 2.0 is for. And 3.0 is about well-being marketing. And then 4 came along, and it was to address the whole problem that we are not digital, but we're moving quickly into a digital world. How do you move into it? And then 5.0 was about using all this new technology for humanity. And now these are basically shorter books. Here's why they exist. You cannot rewrite a 800 textbook on marketing every year. Yet a lot happens in marketing every year. So the reason that these shorter books came out would be for the purpose of brand managers and marketers being updated about what happened recently in the last few years that won't show up in a textbook. So we understand that now. So let's look at Marketing 5.0 and some of the things that were said. The first important thing is to recognize that there are several groups in our customer base, all the way from baby boomers, and the dates are given. They're actually running the companies. They're the managers of our economy. And then there are top managers too, Generation X, and then there's the millennials, and then there's Generation Z, and so on. Now, the interesting thing is each generation grows up with very different experiences. The events, the major events of the world, the terrible events and the good events, they strike the mind of the people at that time who lived through that, and they don't forget these events. Their sense of what was entertainment was conditioned by what generation they were. Even any attachment to social movements would have been attachment to the social movements that were taking place at that time in history. And so even attitudes toward work will differ in the generations. Now, one of the things to point out quickly is that the millennials are very different in their expectations than the baby boomers. So if you hire a millennial, you're hiring someone who really wants some balance between work and family and friends. Also, the millennials are interested in social problems. They see it all around them. And they want your company to do more than just make product X. They want to work for a company that cares. In fact, if you're a company that doesn't care, you're not going to get millennials coming to you. You're competing with the companies that care, that are favored by the millennials. Worse than that, Generation Z, who are younger than the millennials, remember, the millennials now have some people under them. They already beginning to be managers of people. But Generation Z, these are younger people, and they were born with computers, and they want everything the millennials want, even more and faster. So as you hire, please look at your human resource people and make sure that they understand that people come with different backgrounds and interests and expectations. And we even say that the products you like, the brands differ among different groups. Baby boomers grew up with brands a long time ago and sticking to them, and maybe not even testing or trying the brands that are really so popular with the millennials and the children of millennials. In fact, there's a view about life itself and how people think about their stage in life, from being students and exploring and trying to think, what career do I want, to being in the job market and starting off and hoping it's the right training that I received and so on, to be more mature later on and fostering a family. That's a big change, with children to be concerned about and so on. And then finally, retirement and how it is to be out of the work game, so to speak. Now, I wrote a very interesting piece on retirement because one of the things I noticed is probably people will be living to be 100 years old. We have, in certain places, Japan is an aging society, as an example, and people live a long time. And it turns out that the work life has normally been from age 20 to 60. If that's the way it's going to be, and you're told that you must retire at 60, you got 40 years left. What do you do with those 40 years after work has ended? Well, you got to think about that. And there's plenty of things to do, and maybe work should not stop at age 60 at all, because the 90-year-old people are really 60-year-old people when you begin to think of it. There's a lot of polarization going on in retailing. This little chart that's from the book 5.0, if you look at the right-hand side, some of you are buying goods and brands that you're concerned, is the brand ethical? Is it eco-friendly? Am I getting full service? And is it sort of a luxury purse or good? And I hope it was done with organic. If it's food, it was organically grown. That's a whole market. But there's a whole other market of people who just take whatever food is available to buy and affordable, and they look for discounts. This is the left side, no frills, very commercial. and so on. So if you're a producer of food, for example, you got to choose either to be a producer of high cost quality food, or you're going to go after the lower end of the market. There's no middle market here. What the polarization is really saying is, if you're running a company, you can't serve the middle of the market that's in between wanting the best quality and lower prices. Many markets are polarizing into the high end or the low end. And in fact, we use a scheme when we try to analyze buyers. We have a task as marketers to move someone through stages. The first stage is to become aware of our company. Otherwise, nothing else happens with them. Then, in becoming aware, they find our company is appealing. There's some appeal to our company. We've got to generate that. And it helps to notice that people at that stage will ask questions if they're interested in us, more questions. And we should anticipate the questions that they might ask and answer them well. And if we do, they will act. They will make their first purchase. And if their first purchase is satisfying, they will buy a second time. And hopefully, our wish is they become a fan. They become an advocate of our brand. They become an ambassador of our brand, because if they reach that stage, they're doing our marketing work for us. They bought our car and they're telling everyone else what a wonderful car it is. We don't have to spend that much on advertising if we can get people to love us and be fans. And what are the tools at the different stages? Well, this is an interesting diagram. We won't read it carefully right now, but you'll notice that the line of serving awareness, appeal, and asking has some tools that we use for people in that stage. And the tools keep changing for the higher stages. So what we're saying is that the marketing mix tools have to match the stage the person is in. All right, we'll move on. Now, the question is, what is happening with MarTech, the technical side of marketing? What's new in that side of marketing? And a number of things are. In fact, anyone in marketing should know all of these, not to use all of them. They're not all ready to be used, but they can be helpful. 3D printing means the capacity in your company to make a component immediately by your having a computer screen where you design the component you want, and then you print it. You print it, and a machine starts taking the material and shaping it, and now you have that. Now, 3D printing seems like a way to make little vases. No, it's moving into printing housing. It has expanded so much that it may be the way they design future housing, to print the parts of the building. Anyways, artificial intelligence and algorithms, that is coming full speed ahead. And the word algorithms is so key here. You're using it as a university, I'm sure, because think of yourself as a university. You get so many students wanting to come to Amity University, and they send in their answers to materials about their background, their grades, and also their essays. And in the past, it would be a person in Amity who would look over the material and make a decision, admission or no admission. And some of the decisions he or she made may have been poor decisions. Someone got into the Amity who's not able to handle the learning. Now, what an algorithm is to take is to study the past people who entered and to look at the variables that affected their actual performance at the school, and to make a software that will now make the decisions of admission or non-admission to Amity. And it's based on, yes, the sense of the person who had a lot of experience making yes and no answers to students, but it's even fortified by the analysis mathematically of what variables really made for the more successful students to be found. Now, not only is Amity thinking or hopefully using algorithms for admission, but a bank that has borrowers, should we lend them money? Well, you should use both the experience of the good lenders in your bank, the ones who did a good job, but it should be fortified by the success rate of their past decisions. So you have an algorithm that will now do the work for you on whether to admit or not a loaner to support someone borrowing money. All right, enough of that. We must use all the new social media. And of course, in the West, we think of it as Facebook and Google and Instagram and several others. In the East, where you are, if you look especially at what's happening in China, they have Tencent, they have Baidu, they have their own social media. And to the extent that you're training students to work business and marketing around the world, they have to get acquainted with all the digital and social media that's available. And of course, we've made a lot of progress with voice recognition. I just always ask Siri. I have an iPhone, so I ask Siri, what's the temperature today in the city, or something else. And then if you have Alexa is another voice that will answer a lot of questions. Facial recognition is beginning to be used on the theory that the first person's face in normal situations say a lot to someone else who's seeing their mood. Basically, you can almost get at their mood and if they're paying really attention or not. So there's some work, although it's work that is being debated about whether we want to get into facial recognition. Big data is the big answer. Can you collect enough data about your customers and use machine learning to bring out insights? The machine learning, and that's the use of multiple regression and cluster analysis and technical things, where you finally get an insight into what is actually driving purchasing. That's key. Now, robotics, Japan is probably the most advanced. And we don't have yet robotic servants and so on, though there are some people who have robotic servants, by the way, a butler, so to speak. But that's further down. The interesting robotic thing I saw was the robotic little dog, which a person who can pet, and the dog barks and all kinds of things like that going on. Chatbots is a bigger concept, more immediate. The ability to, I can be in a store and there's a new product being featured and I want to know more about the new product. So I say, how long does your product last when it's in use? You know, I put questions to what is a piece of software that is designed to anticipate questions and to answer them without it being left to a salesman to know all the answers and so on. The use of reality, virtual reality and augmented reality is very important. I would never actually take 2 years to design a new car or product or whatever and build the factory and make the product and try to sell it. No, I would create the product on my software and I would let people actually put on the glasses and they will see the new car that I designed, which doesn't exist, by the way. And they will hear the engine start when they sit down in the car, and they will feel they're driving it. In other words, I can use the internet and do a virtual reality where I can ask them at the end of the experience, does the car interest you? Would you buy it at this price? And so on. And I might decide it's not going to be bought enough, and I saved a lot of money by not building the factory. So you tie this to innovation. Your innovation work should be done with virtual reality. I won't talk much about blockchains and digital money, but they're on the increase now. Sensors will be everywhere. We call it the Internet of Things, so that as I approach my home, the door unlocks because because I'm sending a signal to something to my door to unlock and go. More companies are trying to automate a lot of their marketing. The problem is that a company goes to sleep. I mean, let's say a company is only working in one city. All the workers are asleep for 8 hours at night, but things could be happening. A competitor could be making a price cut or something, or increasing their ads or something, and we're all asleep. Well, can't we create intelligent virtual agents while we're asleep to respond to developments when we're not there? And can we use drones to deliver goods, or learn in some ways to use some of these new vehicles? And how do we improve the learning rate of our own workers and employees? How do they get to know more faster? And what about neuroscience? We know that Procter & Gamble and a lot of big companies are testing their message and their messenger using brainwaves. They're asking some people to wear a certain thing on their head, and then they are listening to one presenter of a message versus a woman presents a message versus a man presents a message. And then also you can change the message from an intense delivery to a soft delivery. You can finally use neuroscience to figure out what was the most effective messenger and message for that audience. And then we're going into wearable clothes now that will warm you when it's too cold and cool you off when it's too warm, and measuring your heart and your health status. So MarTech, are you using MarTech? What parts are you using? Okay. And now, what about the major features of the new marketing? And I've already talked about algorithms and AI, and I've talked about marketing automation, and I mentioned customer journeys. Always analyze the journeys customers took to get to you, but also look at the touch points along the route to getting to you. A touch point is a moment of truth. In other words, the one who came to my dealership to buy a car, it was an ad that he saw that I had put into the magazine that really got him to come to me. So I must manage the touch points along the journey to be the winner and the moment of truth at each touch point. I also should make sure that my copywriters who put messages together have a real clear idea of the viewer who will get the message. Is it a woman ages 35 to 45 and she's middle income and she has 2 children? Is that the person I'm writing this message for? Well, you got to create personas for your copywriters so they can make the message more meaningful and understanding to that person. And we should also feed a lot of content to our customers, not only sales messages. You know, they get tired of us doing hard selling all the time. A lot of your customers like sports. They might be very attentive to something that's happening in the Olympics, and you might find some content that can be sent to them just to show that you're interested in their lives and so on. So are you handling content too? And what are you doing about high influencers? There's some people who have so many followers, like the singer who everyone knows, millions of people. They watch her so carefully. They see what she wears, what she drinks when she appears in public, and so on. And you know, if you can get your product to be used by a high influencer, you should compensate them for doing that. Well, what's happening is good and bad. That there's a big research on who are the main influencers and trying to get them to show the use of your product in their lives, and you're paying them for that. Is that good or bad? You know, there was a time when one of the people pushing Pepsi-Cola, he didn't even like Pepsi-Cola, but he was being paid to be shown drinking Pepsi-Cola. You know, there are questions. Now, omni-channel marketing, be aware that there's so many points of where a product may appear. It could appear in a vending machine. It could appear in a gas station. Whoever thought we would buy food in a fueling station? And then there's some other things going on, and I'm going to move ahead. I want to summarize a lot of points about the future of marketing. And some are drawn from what I just said. Consumers will be able to select the best brands in the future. Now, I'm trying to get a little futuristic in what I'm saying. That consumers, armed as they are with the internet, where they can look up your product, your price, and all the competing products, and all the reviews of your product and competing products, that advertising and salespeople won't be that important to them. In fact, they will get more of their decision. They will make more of their decision based on what their neighbors and friends and acquaintances tell them, and all the advertising you do and the salespeople you have. Let's take salespeople specifically, pharmaceutical marketing. What we know, a salesperson cannot get to see the doctor. The assistant to the doctor says to the salesperson, leave a sample of your new brand, your new product, and the brochure, and the doctor will get back to you if he has any questions. But you can't see him, he's too busy. So what is the future of salespeople and advertising? We have to rethink it. Which really means that marketing success will depend mainly on smart pricing and owning the strongest channel position in the channels of distribution. Marketing creativity will be crucial in the area of experiential marketing. Experiential marketing is the effort to design a very interesting experience when someone comes into our store. The worst thing is to come into a store, the clerk doesn't look at you, the clerk is not interested in you, and you have to just sort of leave the store because there was no help there. No, the store experience should be, especially if it's selling fashions or if it's selling fishing equipment. If it's selling fishing equipment, you should have a little place to fish in your store too. So experiential marketing will be of growing importance, which is creativity. Marketers will make more use of customer journey mapping touch point marketing, personas, content, and influencers. Marketers will increase their use of virtual reality to deliver better product understanding to their prospects. Marketers will make greater use of neural networking. And others, there's a whole profession of new people coming into marketing who are psychologically, they've been trained in how the mind and the brain works. It's a little difference between the mind and the brain, but we won't get into that right now. But also you need in your department, people who know how to use the technical tools that we call predictive analytics and machine learning and so on and so forth. So marketing will change. Now, here's a little thing I like to draw your attention to, and that is what are the marketer's benefits and what are the customer benefits? If you do wasteful marketing, you're wasting both. There's no benefits for either side. If you're doing inane marketing, it's almost insane marketing, but inane, we're meaningless, not relevant. Maybe it doesn't work for most of the market. If you're doing unethical marketing, it's not what you want to be doing. And the answer is H2H marketing. And H2H is a book I followed up on Marketing 5.0, human to human marketing. We always have to be reminded that business is a people business. Your employees are people, valued people. Your customers are valued people. And unless you can be more H2H, human to human in all your dealings, you're not going to get very far in marketing. And I want to leave with a quote that I often end the talk with, and that is, within the next 5 years, if you're still doing the business and marketing you've been doing, you'll be out of business. You've got to change with the times. Maybe not too fast ahead of the times, but don't be slower for the changing times. Thank you very much. I'd like to hear your questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful session. It is an extremely pertinent topic, Marketing 5.0. And I'm sure our participants are ardently waiting to interact with you through their question and answers. I can already see an influx of questions in the chat box and the Q&A section. So before I go to the participants and their questions, I would like to invite our Honorable Chancellor, sir, Dr. Aseem Chauhan, for his address. Over to you, sir.
Professor Kotler, we cannot express how moved we are, how grateful we are to you on behalf of our founder president, Dr. Ashok Chauhanji, all senior management, all vice chancellors, deans, faculty, and students of the Amity Education Group. Your lecture today was historical. We have learned so much. And I was thinking, what does it take for someone to become synonymous with the whole area of business? Because today Kotler is synonymous with marketing, and marketing with Kotler, and your lifelong devotion to the field is something we all feel so inspired by. I know that there are a lot of questions, so I will be very brief, but I just want to say that everything that you have presented today, it occurred to me, is so relevant in the Indian context today, a country that will be doubling its GDP in the next few years, a country that will be doubling the number of students in higher education, and many of them in the area of business over the next few years. Your advice today, your lessons today sounded not only like business advice, but almost spiritual advice. And the 4 stages of life that you spoke about resonated so much with the deep heritage of Indian traditional knowledge. Professor Kotler, we are grateful to you. We would love to associate and hear more from you, because you yourself and your example is transformational, not only to academicians, but to so many around the world. Thank you so much. We are grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to open the session for the question and answers. For that, I would request our Honorable Deputy Pro-Vice Chancellor and Director, Amity Business School, Professor Dr. Vikas Madhukar, to take forward the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Niti. And what a wonderful session indeed. There are many questions popping up on the window, keeping in mind the limitation of time. I will pick up few out of them. I am picking the first question from Rajiv Kumar. The question is, after the COVID experience with disruption in supply chains, do we expect countries to be more inward looking? A limited deglobalization, if it may be called so. Consequently, how will it impact global and local marketing?
Oh, excellent question about what's going to happen with the view toward globalization. I mean, we have really been happy that consumers can be served with the best products they can find coming from anywhere in the world. All of a sudden, we find, however, that we've lost the capacity to make the same products in our own country because some other country can make them less expensively. And I think that it's going to lead to many of the industrial countries to put in what we call backup systems, at least. Look at the ventilator problem. The US really didn't have the capacity to make ventilators for the COVID problem. I know, Nan. So the point is that I think there's going to be more localization of resources. Now it's a conundrum because it forces the country to make things that are more expensive to make, and it will raise prices probably in the country, but it's a trade-off, and it's too early to know what's going to happen about that. Are we going to move more locally, or are we going to continue to think more globally? It's a very big question for India, because India's future is to be selling. India can make many things at lower cost around the world. And this questioner is worried about whether they will be bought from India. But remember, buying from a country also carries the question of what the qualities are of that country. Should India make the world's best car? Well, if we don't think you have the history of making cars, you certainly made the new small car for people to have. So the question is, the question of what country to buy a product from is more than just the price. It is about the history of the country's ability to make quality in what it's producing for others abroad. Well, we'll go to a second question.
Second question is from Professor S.L. Kothari from Amity University, Jaipur. The question is, almost everything is being overproduced in the present times to keep the economy going. If we bother about the climate and environment, then the economy has to slow down. How do you react to this contradiction?
Yeah, it's a question of should the Indian economy look at what it's actually producing and what might not be as vital to produce for either Indian consumers or the world, and where would this decision-making come from? From a government commission that is thinking about, if India were a company, it's a question of the portfolio. Every company, you take a company like Unilever with 140 brands, and Unilever, which was under the wonderful management of a man you should always watch on the internet, Paul Pullman, who retired, but he's the best CEO I know today, Paul Pullman. And he said, yes, we have 140 brands, but 40 of them are really important. And we're going to put our energy on the important ones. So a company can do this. Can a country say, well, we're producing 3,000 different products? Are some of them trivial? And especially in the light of the problem of carbon generation and warming of the planet. I don't know. I think it pays for India to have a commission to think about this question, even if not much might be able to be done about it, because after all, producers should have the freedom in capitalism to make what they think someone wants to buy at a profit. But I think some thought should be given to the question.
All right. Thank you. Another question is from Ms. Sapna Sood, who is a research scholar and doing her PhD from Amity Business School. The question is, digital is growing and so is the innovation. With 5G coming into picture, we see a lot of big companies adopting it. While everyone is focusing on the positive side of 5G, companies seem to ignore the negative aspect of 5G, like the impact it would have on our environment. I would like to hear from your views about it.
I haven't followed 5G that much to know what the negative impacts might be. It's all the main thing is we want to be sure that everyone in the world has access to computer power and the internet, broadband, and that isn't the case. I worry less about 5G, which is more about how to speed it up and make so that I can get my machine, my computer to work faster or something. I'm more interested in making sure that the people have access to the power that we normally want in 4G and so on. So I can't comment more. I'll take one more question because of that limitation I had said initially that I'm already running over time.
Right, absolutely. The last question I'm taking, this is from something you talked about, the cryptocurrency. The question is from Mr. Praveen. With Meta and Microsoft putting resources into metaverse, the advent of NFT and cryptocurrency, this is likely to become the next big market and promotional space. How will the marketing function evolve to capture opportunity in that new dimension?
You know, you've got two different things happening here. One is the idea of other currencies like Bitcoin and blockchain is not a currency. Blockchain is the system used for it. I don't like that idea of other currencies. First of all, it ties up a lot of money in nothing. A Bitcoin is nothing really. It meant you dug up from the ground some resources and made a certain number of Bitcoins. And it competes. It really competes. It's not good for the economy. I would almost vote against any currency that is not the one currency of the country. And you mentioned not only that, but sorry, what was the other part to your question? Do you remember that? There was besides the other currencies, which I don't like.
Yeah, the next part is how will the marketing function evolve to capture opportunity in that new dimension?
Oh, yeah, I thought what I'm remembering now is the Facebook move to becoming a meta company. And no one knows what that really means yet. You know, if you're cynical, you say that was a way to get attention away from their problems, to put new excitement that would distract their problems. And yet, the meta idea is very close to the idea of intelligent software that can guide a lot of things happening in the world without our needing to be present and so on. Let's watch what is happening with the meta notion. It's either a kind of a movie idea and not very real, or it's a very important idea, but let's watch. Let me thank you very much. I wish we would have, it's the bad scheduling situation, and I hope that I again have a chance to visit Amity and its fine students and fine people who I see right now on the screen. Thank you very much, and I say goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
Professor
Thank you
Kotler,
so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
A big thank you to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Padmakali, very good job. Professor P.B.
Yeah.
Sharma, congratulations. Wonderful lecture. Dr. Padmakali, a lot of questions were still there. If you can please
Yes.
make sure we document a lot of questions.
Yes,
we
absolutely.
try to answer as many as possible. And we will request Professor Kotler to come back. But very well done, Professor P.B. Sharma, Dr. Padmakati. Great. Thank you.
Dr. Vikas, you can
Thank you so
quickly
much, sir,
say
for
a
your gracious
vote of
presence.
thanks for
It
the
was a great source of inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much.
Dr. Vikas.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Asim Chauhan, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor, our distinguished speaker of the session, Professor Kotler, who just left, participant from various AMD campuses of India and abroad, and practitioner from corporate. Indeed, it was a wonderful session on marketing 5.0 and understanding modern marketing lesson from Professor Kotler, who have described the challenges of new business world, such as impact of COVID-19 on business across globe, issues related to climate change, sustainability, reducing carbon footprints, problem of inflation, digital resource strength of an organization, shift in consumer market in post-COVID era, digital transformation and shift in customer behavior. And he has rightly pointed on the need for companies to make a balance between people and technology to deliver most value across the customer journey. Company needs to enhance a transformative mindset for a data-driven and agile approach, and need to find ways in which machine and people might fit and deliver the most value across the customer journey and mapping touchpoint. There is no doubt, in fact, that the next generation technology, which include artificial intelligence, natural language processing, robotics, sensor technology, augmented reality, virtual reality, IoT, and blockchain, going to be game changer in understanding the customer journey and the various touch points. We are grateful to our distinguished guest, father of modern marketing, Professor Kotler, for delivering such a wonderful and insightful session and investing his valuable time to impart new knowledge to all participants today. My heartfelt thanks to Professor Kotler, and we are truly delighted to host this session today and look forward for a more fruitful insight from you. My heartfelt gratitude to our visionary leader, a fountainhead of noble virtue, Honorable Founder President Sir, for creating and building Amity institutions and giving us a chance to serve the community and nation and to be part of your mission of nation building through transforming education and research. My deep sense of gratitude to Honorable Chancellor of Amity University, Dr. Asim Chauhan sir, a charismatic and dynamic leader who is a powerhouse for all Amitian and an inspiring force to dream big. It is his vision and strong commitment to Amity mission of internationalization that Amity has marked his strong presence in various countries such as Singapore, Mauritius, Kenya, South Africa, 170-acre campus in New York City and campus in San Francisco, in US and many others. Thank you for your gracious presence and continuous motivation. I express my gratitude and thanks to Professor P.B. Sharma, Vice Chancellor of Amity University, Haryana, Professor Dr. Padmakali Banerjee, Pro-VC and Dean Academic, Amity University, Haryana, for their great leadership and contributing to the success of Amity University. My sincere thanks to all senior leaders of Amity institutions, including Vice Chancellors, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Deans, Directors who have attended this late evening session today. My sincere appreciation for all participants, including students, faculty members, dignitaries from corporate for their patience, listening, and their active participation and making this event a success. Thank you once and all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has indeed been an extraordinary learning experience, and I'm sure the learning is going to stay with us for a long time to come. Thank you once again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Niti, and thank you to all the panelists, including Mr. Manoj Sahani, Mr. Rishi Raj, who coordinated with me to connect with Professor Kotler, Mr. Sachin Juneja, who reached out to the social media, and our deans who are joined with us today, Major General P.K. Sharma, Professor UN Singh, and others. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ma'am, can I end this session?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, please close the session.